Hey, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. Today, I'm talking about Nano Dimensions, one of our favorite 3D printer stocks. And don't forget, I know I promised many of you that given that we would have some time at the end of this video, let's talk about Vinco Ventures or BBIG. There has been a massive sort of push in that stock. I think it went up 50% on Friday, but this is a Nano Dimensions video first and foremost, so let's sort of get into it. Now, as a reminder, Nano Dimensions is a stock that I've been covering on this channel for a relatively long time. As you can see, I've matched the color scheme once again. Let's get the vibe in here. Let's get that blue. Nano Dimensions is a stock that was doing phenomenally well during the pandemic. They must have had probably the most share dilutions of any company I've ever seen. Their CEO at the time, Yoav Stern, let me just sort of go up here. You can see how much the stock appreciated, right? From sort of the gutter back around 70 cents back in April of 2020. We had a sort of another zone at 137. And from there, it went all the way up to like $18 a share. Absolutely incredible. The stuff of dreams, right? When you think of getting a big win in the stock market, Nano Dimensions was one of those powerhouse stocks. Now, as a recap, the CEO, as I mentioned at the time, Yoav Stern, what he did was he really wanted to lock in the value of these overzealous traders and investors by locking in liquidity, diluting the shares, and he raised about 1.5 billion US dollars. At the time, he was asked, are you going to buy or sort of acquire other companies with those funds? And he said, you know what? There's too much SPAC mania going on. So for those of you who don't know, SPAC was basically these shell companies that would bring they would bring companies that were not listed on the stock market into the stock market at a significant price for their services. Companies like ChargePoint, companies like DraftKings, Playboy, whatever, tons of SPACs. There was like 600. A lot of SPACs lost too much capital through this process, and as such have really hurt their shareholders, right? A lot of SPACs, like I think of one called Birds, it went all the way from $10 to like 5 cents, right? Really, really bad. Same with bodybuilding or bodybuilding.com, stock body. I think it went from like $10 or $12 down to a few cents as well. So SPACs weren't that great. Yoav Stern sort of had that foresight, and he sort of waited for better deals. He was very, very keen and astute and a very shrewd investor at the time. And for those of us who are still with Nano Dimensions to this day, we thank him, right? And just like with every other stock, when these stocks are sort of rallying, you'll have these charlatans who go on YouTube. They have zero talent. And what they do is they just make YouTube videos, try to capitalize on views, just pumping stocks, saying they're going to the moon. They make hundreds to thousands of dollars on those videos. Financial Friend is one of those guys. There's tons of others who've done this in the past. Whether or not they still do it, I don't know. But I remember watching and seeing them do this. And then they just move on to the next big stock because all they care about is payday, right? For you guys to know, I make like 50 cents to $1 on these videos. So it's really not worth my time from a making video perspective. So for me, it's way more about providing value and sharing my opinion. Now, as a reminder, and I always say this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my handles on the various tech above. And nothing that I say here is financial advice. Do your own research and your own due diligence if you like what you hear in this video. So I'll leave that sort of going right now. But as a reminder, Nano Dimensions sort of jumped all the way from its highs back in Jan of 2021. It was sitting at 17, 18 bucks. And we first found a level of support around $3, right? $3, it kept bouncing up and down. $3 came back a tiny bit to like 2 something, went a bit back up to $3. And we are finally coming back out of the doghouse, right? So back in March, we were around $3, and now we're finally back above $3 right now. Now, does that mean Nano Dimensions is not a good company? Of course not. I strongly believe it's a very good company. They have some very strong leadership, and they have very good technology in Dragonfly, which is their sort of printing machine. Now, one of the things I will mention is through those acquisitions, they've talked a bit about sort of the DeepCube product, which is their, something that was going to generate revenue beyond just their 3D printers and the Dragonfly. So what they have done recently, and this news came out July 5th, so that was like 4 days ago, they've signed an agreement with a large multinational electronics company to leverage DeepCube's deep learning-based AI technology. There's that fantastic word. You say AI and sort of everyone's like, where can I put my money in 2023? It's like EV was back in 2020. Nano Dimensions has also entered a memorandum of understanding with another international industrial company and is in the later stages of discussion with several more leading industrial and advanced manufacturing companies for the commercial use of the DeepCube technology. All of that is sort of being negotiated right now and sort of being discussed at a sort of customer level. They are often around improving the efficacy of their processes through some combination of inline or instantaneous analysis of images and or data. For the cases at hand, improving throughput and yield are of utmost importance, and even slight enhancements can translate into large financial upsides, right? This is sort of that process improvement that we sort of see constantly throughout all the stocks that we cover. So Nano Dimensions has based much of its strategy around the application of deep learning based AI. They acquired DeepCube about 26 months ago, around 2 years, and has since leveraged its technology and its leading group of data scientists to drive improvements for its proprietary additive manufacturing systems. After seeing the improvements that the deep learning based AI for industrial applications could create, they brought this and obviously it's been very well received. Yoav Stern, chairman and the CEO of Nano Dimension, commented, "We are pleased to see results so quickly after being led by a clear and present pull from the market. Fortunately, customers are demanding DC AI deep learning engine for specific and various applications beyond our adaptation to it for additive manufacturing." While obviously AI has been the topic of much conversation, right? Like ChatGPT in the house, it is hard to imagine a greater set of applications for this unique technology than the opportunities we are discussing with a range of top-tier customers. The nature of their businesses and the problems they face means that DC or DeepCube AI can bring notable improvements to their products and services while also translating to a better bottom line. So that is one of their two press releases that came out. The second has got a lot to do with their earnings that I talked about last week. So Nano Dimensions now, because first they sort of gave a highlight, now they did their full announcement, their official announcement of their preliminary Q2 2023 results, demonstrating another stellar quarterly performance with revenue showing 48% organic growth since Q3 2022. Phenomenal. So Nano Dimensions reported unaudited approximate consolidated revenues of about $15 million, 33% increase since the previous year over year, and $29.7 million for the first half of 2023, right? Which is 30% higher than it was in the previous year. Yoav Stern, Chairman CEO, this quarter is another testament to the success of our business model and strategic initiatives that drive both organic and inorganic growth, including recent disciplined acquisitions and successful integrations that have positioned us as a leader in the industry, right? So they've continued to outperform with 48% organic revenue growth since Q3 of last year, despite everything going on, from a macro environmental standpoint. They also sort of demonstrate the efficacy of the R&D efforts, as well as their operations, marketing, and sales functions across all their product lines. So we should expect to see all of this come out very, very soon. So this is phenomenal news. Acquisitions are very important, as I mentioned. This is sort of how they build out their business. They have a ton of cash and cash equivalents that they're sitting on. This bodes very well for the organization. In a previous video, I showed their sort of press release that they have, sort of like why should you invest in Nano Dimensions? And they talked a lot about not really caring about the stock price in the short term, really focusing on that core profitability. And that core profitability comes from improving operations, streamlining them, finding ways to contain costs and increase revenue. And they are doing that on both ends. If this sustains, we are going to see this company be profitable and profitable long term, which means they're going to keep adding to their business. And by doing that, they turn from a speculative startup, which is how I view them right now, into a pillar in the 3D printing space, which will all of a sudden bring tons of investment back in. Don't forget, all of this is happening in a bear market. We're supposed to be in a recession, right? And if you think about it this way, imagine what will happen when the risk-on environment comes back on and Nano Dimensions is sort of sitting there, having proven itself to sort of survive throughout everything else going on. One of sort of the consistencies of the stocks that I cover on this channel, and the reason I invest in them, is they have the capital to survive when now, a year, 2 years ago, you could get money at a 0% interest rate. Now it costs money to borrow money. And because of that, because of rising interest rates, a lot of these companies are going under. They are ghost companies. Nano Dimensions is not one of them, right? And I really believe long term in sort of how the stock was doing. Now, after this earnings announcement came out, this article on July 6th was shares of NNDM fell 1% in pre-market trading. They ended up going up 4.5% for the day, putting them in danger of snapping a record long win streak. Well, they were completely wrong. And, we are not surprised to see that, right? The earnings results are fantastic. The stock had soared 35% amid a 7-session win streak through Wednesday, which surpassed the previous record of 6 sessions achieved 4 times since the stock went public in mid-2015. Fantastic for trending, right? And if you look at Nano Dimensions sort of on Friday even, it went up again. So we had, when we look back at this, we had 6 days, 7 days through Wednesday. So actually 9. Now we're sitting at 9 consecutive days, which is fantastic. Let's go for 10 tomorrow. That'd be fantastic, right? The company said second quarter revenue rose 33% from a year ago to 15 million. No analyst estimates provided by FactSet. The company is projected to report full quarterly results in mid-August, and this is going to be great news and another catalyst, right? Kind of cementing what they said. And they sort of talked about sort of this merger that they tried with Stratasys, but apparently Stratasys is now saying that they are going to stick with their merger deal with Desktop Metal. But still, who cares? I'm sure Yoav and the company, the team will find another stock that is good to invest in. One of the things I would recommend for all of you, there's a website called StockTwits. StockTwits, and you type in whatever ticker. Do not go and look at this. I've been asked about this. It's supposed to be useful, but it's super toxic, and you just find people who are either trying to pump their bags or FUD people. Like, there are people on here who are super happy every time someone loses. Honestly, these people are trolls in people's basement. I know some people in real life who act the exact same way. Honestly, these people are broke. They've got nothing else going for them. They live a really terrible life. But you don't want to see these platforms. What you want to do is sort of watch videos like this. You can join my free public Discord, Spades Investing, where we sort of talk a lot about the stock market, crypto, and trading, and sort of get sort of quicker updates on everything else going on. And that's the kind of stuff and like-minded sort of people you want to talk to, not these toxic trolls on StockTwits. Okay. So then, looking at Nano Dimensions, one of the things that I'll bring up, that I bring up every time, is the market cap is $765 million, which means that's what the company's worth. But if you take a look at the actual total equity ended March 31st, 2023, and we'll get an updated number once they get reported back in August, in a few weeks, we're sitting at 1.16 million for total equity, which means the company is worth a lot more than the market cap, which is typically not the case, because typically what you have is a market cap is, fundamentally, it's just the number of shares times the share price. But the actual equity is what the company's worth. Most market caps are, let me take the equity of the company, right, plus future earnings, future potential. So we're actually below that. But if just to go to even, I've done the calculation, we are 1.43 times more. That's what the price should be to reflect the appropriate equity. And that would put us at a price of $4.35 US. And that's not accounting for anything in the future and all the other potential that's going on. So I think there's significant upside in Nano Dimensions. Okay. So that's what I wanted to talk about, Nano Dimensions. If there are people in the chat, we'll quickly go over Vinco Ventures. So Vinco Ventures is a stock. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure what they do. I invested in them like a long time ago as part of a short squeeze. Couple of things that I sort of do want to mention here. Okay, so when I look at short squeeze stocks, and when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, I look at number one, how many bag holders are sitting in the stock, right? So you want to look at the sort of level of where that stock is sitting, and then say, okay, well, were they ever at this price before, right? And the answer is no. This is the lowest that Vinco Ventures has been, since they went public. This is important for a couple reasons. Every single person who's in the stock is underwater, unless you bought it, prior to Friday. Unless you bought it like in the last few days, where like the stock sort of went up. Over here, anyone here even would be. These are the only people who are not under if you bought it in this time frame, right? So let's go back here. If you bought it anywhere like below this line 188, so anywhere between June 20th to July 6th, beyond that you're a bag holder, right? So there's going to be tons of selling pressure as the stock goes up. So Vinco Ventures went up 56% on this day. Not really sure why. I'm going to imagine there was a big movement on Reddit, Wall Street Bets, or some other sort of short squeezing potential website. Does that mean it's done? Of course not. It doesn't mean it's done. But let me tell you something. This is a significant move at 188. And typically when the stock has moved that way in the past, right? So if you look here, it took a couple days. So if the last time the stock short squeezed was January 11th of 2023. So I'm just going to zoom in here, right? And over 3 to 4 days, it just kept going up. So if you are looking to participate in the short squeeze, number one, you've got to be very okay with sort of the risk. And my recommendation is put money you can afford to lose. And the other thing is, if you're getting into this, what I would say is also look to cut your bags within a day or two, because these short squeezes aren't sustained, right? So you see here, Jan 11th, $10.24. And by the way, the only reason that's the case is they did a reverse stock split, 1 to 20. So this stock was actually 50 cents back here. That's probably why you don't remember it being this high. But they did a 20 for 1 reverse stock split. But you see here, Jan 11th, $10, went up 5% potentially on Jan 12th. The next day it went up 30%. The next day it went up 18%. And then the air kind of got out of the tires, did a bounce, and then sort of just sold off. So my recommendation here is, if you're looking, like I said, not financial advice, make that a big part of your consideration. You want to get in and get out. Don't foolishly think that this stock is going to go from $1.88, which is it is right now, to $50. it may go up all the way to like $3, $4, and then kind of squeeze out. But once you're in profits, the way you can account for this is by setting a stop loss. So then you've locked in your profits, and that way, if it does start selling off, you can make money. That's sort of how I would play it if I was playing it. Personally, I'm not doing that. I've actually put a lot of my money into a stock called Mara. Mara is a stock that I am super bullish on because I am a huge crypto fanatic, and you can see here it's at $16. And when I talked about it, maybe 2 weeks ago, it was sitting around $12, $12 to $13. So it's gone up 23% since then, and I expect it to continue going up with sort of the bullishness on Bitcoin. All right, and for me, somebody asked me, I do see sort of this stock going over $100 at some point. Or sorry, I do see this stock going to over $100 at some point, but that's when Bitcoin has broken all-time highs. That might take 1 to 2 years, but I'm okay waiting. So Marathon Holdings, Nano Dimensions, and Zomedica are my 3 speculative stocks. Everything else, all the rest of my money when it comes to stocks is in blue chips. Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, Disney, etc. Anyways, that's all there is for this video. As always, sort of make sure you like the video, hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think of Nano Dimensions, what you think of BBIG, the short squeeze. Are you playing it? Whether or not you're watching this video live, or you come, like many and most people, you come and watch this video later. I just like turning this on at any point in time and recording, because that way I don't have to do all the editing, and that lets me get more content to all of you out as soon as possible. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and until next time, we'll see you in the next video.